Da-da-bum-ba-dum-bum.
Bum.
That's perfect. Good Good
We're
evening,
better
everybody.
than ours.
You're here on Wednesday night on IPL, here with Ali and Georgia on Tea Time. And we are joined this afternoon by a lovely guest by the name of Michael. How are you, Dapper Michael?
I'm pretty good, cheers, mate.
Excellent. Now, I've been giving nothing to go on with this interview, which I like. It's great. It means everything is a surprise to me, and you get to see my surprised face, which is this.
Oh.
Yeah. I apologise, I haven't done my eyebrows for a little bit. All my nails. That's the cost of being a blue-collar gay,
Yeah,
I guess.
that's right,
you know? That's what I do. So tell me about yourself. What do you do for a crust?
What do I do? I study, and so I'm studying social work currently. Yep. I have a conservation and wildlife biology degree.
Wow.
I have a counter-terrorism and security and intelligence degree. And I currently work as a carpenter.
Fantastic.
So,
So like most people I've met with extensive academic careers, cannot find work using them.
I could find work using them, but I just have bigger goals, and I wasn't done studying when I finished. I didn't enjoy study as a whole.
You must.
Yeah, some people might be like, no, you know, you're just wanting to just be a student for the rest of your life, but it's not really that. I enjoy study for knowledge, and when I did conservation and wildlife biology, I sort of finished it, and I was working at Pursuit for a while, and then just sort of went, this isn't what I want for a career. And then I went into counter-terrorism because I have a brother that's a cop.
Oh, good. I thought you were going to say terrorist.
Yeah.
Sibling rivalry.
Yeah, that's exactly
deep.
it. I was coming to get him. And
used to play cops and robbers as kids. Now we're just all
that's
grown up.
exactly it.
Yeah.
Once I finished that same sort of thing, I had some big decisions to make. Some like offers got put on the table and things like that, and then just realized like I don't want to leave home and my like current life at that point. During that period of time as well, I was like going to have to leave home and move over to Canberra, and I was not prepared to do that because my mum wasn't well. So then I just made the decision to stay, and then I sort of didn't really know what to do with myself, but I was still in that, like I wasn't quite set on what I was doing. But since starting social work as a degree, I've loved every minute.
I mean, it's a broad departure.
Yes.
You've run the gamut really,
Yes, yeah.
really well. You sort of, I get the feeling like you were maybe kind of sick of people, so animals might have been an attractive substitute. You know what I mean? Like they don't lie, for example. They don't cheat. They don't steal. Well,
They're cute.
No, monkeys do steal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
We might have taught them that. Who knows? And then the counter-terrorism thing, which yes, absolutely right. I'm sure there's a lot of work for that.
Yes. Yeah.
And that was influenced by your brother in law enforcement.
Yes. Yeah.
You just had to do him one better.
Yeah. It's just sort of my parents said, well, what are you going to do if you're not going to do this? You know, once I'd done conservation, I was like, I don't really know. And then my mum was like, well, why don't you just try what your brother did? Because I've always been quite idealistic about helping. You know, whatever the profession was didn't really matter to me. It was about, hey, I want to do things to help people or help, you know, society. You know, that's what I saw conservation as, and that's what I then saw counter-terrorism as, and then that's now what I see social work. And yeah, it's been interesting as like fields of study to go through, especially counter-terrorism, because, you know, part of it is like I really challenged my understanding of what I thought certain religions were and extremism in the world. You know, when you understand, when you look at these things in a different light of like, hey, they're not what the media portrays,
Not
Islam and things like that to be, and then you understand that these are real people and that it's not quite what we're led to believe. And that's really was the other part of like why I left when I like finished that. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do this because I'm going into a field that is structured in one particular way, and that didn't quite like gel with my personal belief system.
And can you summarize that, or is it, I mean, where have you landed and what led you there?
So I actually wrote an assignment about this recently. I would consider my personal belief, or like the things I believe, I'm very altruistic.
Well, clearly, you don't go into science or social work looking to make a buck.
Yes.
Generally?
Yeah. And then, I consider myself an omnist, someone who I believe in all religion, and I think that all religion has wisdom hidden within it. And I would never say that one religion is the true religion. They all are the true religion to whoever wants to believe the religion.
I like to think that they all serve a purpose.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
That's definitely the way I see it, is they all serve a purpose, and, who am I to say what is the correct or not correct religion, because we all sit in some state of, we don't really know.
Well, yeah, and flux. Our things change, our tastes change, we develop, we grow.
Yeah, exactly.
And the influences around us shift as well as we move through our particular space and time.
Most definitely.
So, where is has it always been this way, do you think? And it's just sort of coalesced and made form? Or is it really shifted?
Yeah, so my personal journey of my understanding of the world has shifted quite a lot as I've grown up through lots of different things. When I think of spirituality, when I really look at the root causes of my spirituality, it comes from a TV show. I absolutely loved Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh yeah,
that show was that just in a time when I needed a hero, if that makes sense, because I just come from not a troubled home, but my dad and I didn't get along and things like that.
Preach.
And so I needed a something that was just my reprieve, and the thing that I really anchored myself to was this character, this Avatar Aang, and
he's like a little big brother, isn't he?
Yeah,
he's just a good example of
exactly
what you could do. It's just a really gentle reminder of how it could be.
Exactly. Yeah, Iroh instead of Aang.
That's exactly it.
Way better for me.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's when I think of Iroh is the perfect masculine figure. You know?
Actually, you've hit that on the head. Definitely.
That's when I think of just who he was and how he was personified, he was the perfect masculine figure.
It's a beautifully written thing.
Oh, masterpiece.
And I've talked about it on my show before, actually.
Yeah.
It's really, really good. So an excellent influence there, and it caused you to question bigger things, which I don't know if that was their intention when they started it, but, you've taken from that something great and run with it.
Yeah, most definitely, yeah. It definitely, when I think of it, think back on it now, just little things even just understanding imperialism and
tackle some surprisingly big subjects.
Genocide and colonialism and things like that. It really finds a way to make these very hard-hitting topics not so hard-hitting. They're a bit more
palatable.
Yeah. And again, when I think of the other side of my spirituality and my worldview, would come from my mother. My mother was a big part of my life, really, and a big part of my own story.
You'd hope so.
Yes, yeah.
Not always the case, unfortunately, but some of us are lucky to have that.
And I was thinking on this recently, and I have a painting in my room that my mum did. And it was sort of the first painting she'd ever done, and it was the only one that was sort of the thing that she did, because my mother passed away 2 years ago, maybe. And that was sort of the thing she wanted to pass on to the family members, is art. And it was all self-taught, all self. And the first one she ever did was this, I could probably show you, but it's this, either side, there's a figure in the middle, and then either side there's a red orange on the right side and a white on the left. And what it is this split of earth and spirit, and then the center is the child, essentially, but the sort of the feminine energy of the world that's then mixing with the spiritual masculine and things like that. It's a complex painting for just a painting, but when I think about it, that's these things, when she's painted this and then explained this to me, and then that's been another like root of my understanding of how then I viewed the world.
Strange then maybe that you didn't pursue art.
I do. I'm very. That's the one thing that I've sort of picked up, is that I that was something we did together as well. So
that's
I've
so
been
touching.
like very artistic myself. You know, I'm always trying to explore new types of art.
What's your current medium?
Music.
Cool.
I have recently decided I'm like, I'm going to try and, I really love hip hop. And I'm just been trying to learn how to rhyme and how to, things like that. And it's a slow process, but I'm committed to it. And yeah, eventually I hope to put myself in front of the right people and things like that. Like I
TikTok maybe? Are you going to go down that?
I've thought about it. Like I personally have a message. As much as like, I'm very vocal on Facebook and I'm very combative on Facebook and things like that. But it doesn't necessarily reflect the person that's me in my everyday life. I care a lot about you pick the subject. I care.
I mean, you can sort of see it in your face.
Yeah.
You have a deep, how would you say? I don't know, like you sort of carry the world on your shoulders, but in an unselfish way.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? It's not all about you and what you're carrying, but what I mean is that you want to lift the world, like you want to hold the world up. Does that make sense?
That's exactly what it is.
Right.
That's exactly what it is.
So, all right. You've tried laying down some tracks then?
No.
No.
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
Right. We're in the burgeoning stage.
This is in the 6 months, if best.
Cool. And prior to that, you've gone through some did you do chalk, sidewalk chalk? Mime? It's an untapped.
Painting, string art, just building with wood, like whittling and stuff like that. I've tried my hand at many things. I really like just experiencing life, especially art. Art is one of those things that I enjoy the standing back and just being like, that's looks pretty cool.
There are some things that really can only be conveyed through art, and I think that's kind of the point of it. There are things where words fail us.
Yeah, most definitely. And I find the beauty of art is as well, it is one of those you're very present in the moment of making art. You're whatever the rest of the world is happening around the rest of the world or in your own life can all disappear in those moments when you are just art. And that's what your mind's thinking about. How can you paint or how can you make it better or whatever it is. That it is the beauty of it is being caught in the moment of creating. Do you find yourself shutting off from the world when you're creating? Is that a way to kind of, cocoon yourself from what is going on in your life? Or do you translate what you're experiencing into it? You know what I mean? Message in, message thrust out again. I would honestly say neither. I just enjoy the process. It sometimes, my string art, for example, was just the enjoyment of, it is quite therapeutic to just sit there and, one, boom, 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 and make your way through. Where when I've painted it, what I originally painted was, it was in UV paints, and it was the center word was love, and then around it has the same word love, but it's done in different patterns, if that makes sense. And I'll have to show you, but please do. Yeah. And well, for those of us joining the conversation, where can they view these things? I can send these things to you, and I don't have anything really on Facebook. This is all just my your own private doing, but I'm happy to send it to you and things like that. Yeah, great. Here's sort of things I painted this with my mum. Oh, that's very cool. That's lovely. It's like a camouflage sort of thing. So you don't really create with the purpose of sending your message out, and yet you say that you have things to say. You've got. This was cool. So this it's not the best quality photo, but this was string art. That's the best string art I've ever seen in my life. Yeah, it was a lot of fun to make. It was really simple, but a lot of fun to make. And oh, right. There's a camera. Yes. Oh, sorry. No, why didn't I think of that? And there's the other. So yeah, I have just always been about art and creating. decided one day while I was at a friend's house, I'm just going to
Papercraft.
create a flower out of those red cups.
Yeah, why not?
I've just like putting my mind to things, whatever it is.
But this is all for you. But what's the message you're trying to get out? And why don't you include it in your art?
Well, I guess the love painting it is, but the other ones, I guess it is, for me, it is about me. It is about the process of enjoying it for me. Like I one day may create art that has message behind it, but for now it's just been like exploration, trying to find what I like, my personal style to things, once maybe I'm there, maybe I will create more art. Like, I also have made like a sticker bomb.
A what?
Sticker bomb? You never...
No, it sounds dangerous. Why? What? Is this a counter-terrorism thing?
No, yeah. Okay. I don't know if I got a photo of this, actually. It's just oh, yeah, there we go.
You're so fast at finding things on your phone. It's amazing. Oh, neat.
Yeah. So
like
it's just like a collage of I don't know if that's gonna come up all right, but yeah, a collage. And a friend and I started making like a much bigger one, like say the size of this here, that we want to donate to the Children's Hospital. Just so I guess there's something for meaning, and yeah, like art is just one. That's what I want to do with music. Is where I'll put a message. When I eventually get to that point.
You talked about larger goals.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like you're on this sort of journey, searching for purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think we kind of all are, right? By default. How close do you think you are to finding the answer?
I've got the answer. I'm just a long way away from it. I want to be Prime Minister, 100%.
Right on.
Yeah, that's where I'm headed. If all things went well, that's where I want to go.
Did someone instill this idea in you? Where did you get this notion from?
All self-made. I am a person that has a lot of self-belief and believes that if I want to set myself to it, I can, and I will. And that's, I want to be Prime Minister because, there are problems in our country. There are problems all around the world. How do you fix these problems? Well, I'll find my way to sit at the top so that I can try and address these problems. Like the best way that I can think to fix a problem is to go and try and fix a problem.
Be at the front of the line.
Yeah. And again, like I don't
know if you've been paying attention, but being on the front lines in our political system seems like Operation Human Shield.
Yeah.
We've been through, I worked this out a little while ago, I haven't voted for a leader that has sat a full term.
Yeah.
In my life.
Yeah.
Which is a little scary to me.
Yeah,
so does that not worry you that perhaps as beautifully ambitious as this is, and I think, once you have a belief in yourself, you need to nourish it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if anyone can learn anything from just meeting you, it's that, this self-drive. It's great. It's oozing from you. But have you heard that, what is it, the party may change, but the bureaucrats don't?
Yes. Yeah. So, I again have thought of these sort of things, and if, the things that if I were truly to get to these points where I'm at that point, I would want to remove all political donations from politics, just flat stick, no more, and really tackle corruption. How are people meant to have trust in the government if your government is corrupt? That would be the ultimate goal, and I know, the thing around it is that I've had friends challenge me on this, and it's like, there is not an amount of money you could put on the table to make me go, yeah, I'll put aside my morals.
Well, that's the difference between having a law degree and going into politics and having a social work degree and going into politics.
Yeah.
I think we could probably do with a few more people like you in the halls of power.
Yeah, I think that we just in general need more people, that...
Real people.
Yes, not people that have been private school, top university and then into politics. And
groomed, essentially.
Yes, yeah.
Sometimes.
It's these, in my opinion, and again, this this is my opinion, I don't think these people should be running the country. That you need to have people who have lived what it is to be an Australian person. I've lived in, abject poverty for a while. I've, struggled in my own life, and I've seen struggle.
You've been a student.
Yes, yeah, and I've seen struggle, in my friend's life and my friend's family's life, and just outside of my, just in general. It is no, there's no lie in saying that people are struggling, and whatever our government is currently doing is not cutting it. And I think that's the whole, when I see if I can get to these places, is that's what I will put forward, is that what Donald Trump did, he had the right idea of where there is a system that is not going right, but he himself was not so great,
maybe not the solution they deserved.
Yes, you should see Brazil.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
And
George is from Brazil.
Oh yeah, I
She's
have the right to
recently
say
escaped.
yeah. Bolsonaro is a bit of a nutter.
Oh yeah, I escaped like a month. Yeah, a month before elections.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Not that best. Have you heard of Lula?
No.
He was in power before. He stole a ton of money from Brazil.
Yeah.
And now he's back again.
Yeah, righto. Yeah, that's exactly, yeah.
Okay, so I really want to ask you if you've picked out a nemesis, just because of the, it's kind of an anime thing, isn't it? To have a rival.
Oh yeah,
kind of thing. I don't know a lot about Japanese culture, but I know that.
I get a nemesis. Yeah.
Do you?
Oh yeah.
Please tell me.
Well,
is it Albanese?
No, I actually quite like Albanese. On the day that he won, I shed a tear, because I campaigned for him just on Facebook and things. I spent the time to research and find out what was happening with the Liberal Party the last 9 years that we've just had. I spent the time to look into these things, and I'm not saying that the Labor Party is perfect by any means. They've got lots of problems, but
do you think the two-party system itself is the problem?
Yes, most definitely. I think lots of people don't like the Greens, and the Greens can be quite radical in their approach. But if someone just tone the Greens back a bit, they've got the right idea on some level.
Sure. Yeah. Look, full disclosure, I have looked at some of the niche parties.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I thought, you know what? I kind of like the cut of Lambie's jib.
Yeah.
Just in that case, you know what I mean? I see someone like her who I didn't vote for. I used to watch a lot of Question Time though, and I see a lot of politicians with they've held on to a bit of passion. You know what I mean? And I appreciate seeing that.
That's why
rather than that dead stare.
Yeah.
Then they're just reading off a script. They don't believe what they're saying anymore. This is what I mean, but. We need to inject a little bit more life back in there.
That's exactly
and
it.
dare I say a bit of controversy, because it does keep people on their toes a bit, I think encourages proper discourse, right? I mean, that is the point of having an opposition party, right? It's to debate things and come up with the best solution through that process, not just, no, because it's my job to say no.
Yeah.
Let's have a chat about it, and I think that's what you want to do, right? You want to have a good discussion.
Definitely. That's the one thing I find personally, about, and I've thought about this sort of thing in lots of different ways, about the two-party system sometimes is the problem as well, is that you become so polarized in. So is there a way to try and make still have separate parties, but each party has to have a use blanket terms, but a left and a right, that form one party together, and then they're the representative party, and then another left and a right group make another party. So now you're having parties of, who have members who are not just these polarized where they're either this or this, and
towing the line.
Yes, and having that one party has both sides included, so that they can work. They have to work together to try and find. Because I think that's our problem in society, is that we're just becoming so polarized in our opinions.
Well, it's nice to belong to something, isn't it?
100%,
and if there's an us and a them, then you're a part of something.
Yes.
You can be a part of whatever fight is happening between them at the time. Is there, in your mind, is there an example of a really good system currently working in the world? Like, what
No.
comes out as a shining example of a good government going on? Anything?
There isn't one.
No. Okay.
Yeah. Again, I personally.
Are you a communist?
100%. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And see, this is the thing: is that I had debated with people online about communism and socialism and capitalism.
In my view, good on paper.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
But see, this is the thing: is that it's good on paper, and it doesn't translate into reality. But that itself is, I am not naive, but I believe in a utopia, and I will stick to that.
It's a word I was going to bring up.
Yeah, I will stick to the dream of a utopia always, and people may say that's naive or that I'm being unrealistic, but I feel that sometimes what we need right now, we're becoming such a lost society. What we need is a big dream of a utopia to go, hey, look, we can see that there are problems. Let's work to fix them, and let's actually build a utopia. And in my mind, yes, communism hasn't worked, but we can find a balance in between the two. It's that where if we were to go more socialist, it's like, yeah, let's take back control of our agriculture, our water, our electricity, generation and power. Why are foreign companies having control of things that are integral to the safety of our country?
I love it. I can see you your blood.
Yeah,
your blood pressure is raising as we speak.
Yeah. So
which is so cool that you're excited about this.
Yeah,
stuff,
this
great.
is when I think of if I could try and make my way through politics, put me in front of people, and I will. I'm a passionate talker, but I'm also reasonable. I like to try and find a middle ground. On Facebook and things like that, I am polarized as hell, but I have purpose in my polarized persona.
Right.
Is because
it's the way to get things
it's to try to get
done.
information. It's also just to get information.
Okay.
If I'm a person that wants to challenge my own prejudice, my own because
Admirable.
whether I like it or not, I have grown up in an infosphere of left-wing media.
Sure.
So I am never going to know what the other side of it is because I have just never been exposed to it.
I agree with you. It's good practice to just sign up to something that you don't agree with.
Yeah,
You know what
that's
I mean?
exactly
Hear
it.
their voice.
Yeah, that's
If it's in the room, you can still ignore it.
Mm.
But it's nice to have both sides.
Do you debate or do you argue?
Yeah, both. I admittedly love chucking mud, like an uncivilized ape. Sometimes that's fun. I enjoy just, being a troll and just because I grew up in that kind of era. But there is the other part of me that when someone wants to have an adult discussion, I will pull all that away and go, okay, let's have that adult discussion because I do want to find solutions to problems. And at the end of the day, I also know that the person I'm having that discussion with is just another person living their everyday life who is no better than me or no worse. We are just people with opinions. And I understand that, although it might not come across when I'm, having arguments and things. Yeah, I understand that. And, it is people who would come across me online would think that I am this person. He's just a loony lefty and all that. But that's by design. I also like the opposition. I want to know what, to know what the other side of the argument is. I actually got to find out and be exposed to what it is. And unfortunately, as silly as it sounds, one of the best ways to get people to know what is an alternative view
in their heart,
is just provoke them into it.
I see that.
And
I
they'll
get the
tell you.
approach, yeah.
They'll tell you what it is. And I've never been exposed to things like Magna Carta. I had no clue what that is until someone's swinging it at me in an argument or a debate, I'd never been exposed to Ben Shapiro or any of these kind of people until...
He's always fun.
Yeah,
he's great.
I disagree with him, but I think he's reasonable. I think he's reasonable. And I can respect that someone is set on their views.
He's worse than reasonable. He's charismatic.
Yeah.
Which is a very dangerous power to wield.
Yes, yeah.
You
Speaking
said
of
that
getting
and I thought
angry.
of a very wrong person to mention as an example, and I'm not gonna.
Not gonna? Off air? We'll talk. Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah. We're filming you, right?
I know.
Okay, good.
But if I People might not know. They might
No.
be thinking of somebody else. Let's hope. A
I'm
very
pretty sure.
famous.
I'm pretty
quiet
sure people are
comedian.
still still taught about Hitler.
I was talking about a certain comedian, but
Actu-
sure, if you want to talk about
Actually-
that.
Oh.
I actually
okay.
saw a guy on his bike this morning when I was driving to work who like I had to do a double take. Like, hang on a second, that looked just like Hitler.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like, I was like, well, how about that?
We're,
Since you mentioned it.
You mentioned getting angry,
Mhm.
and sometimes that can feel like shouting into the wind. And I'm wondering whether you've ever done that literally. What have you marched for? Have you gone to the streets?
Yeah, I'm part of like Extinction Rebellion and things like that.
Neat.
I also protest like the vaccine mandates and things. You know, like I am pro-vaccine, but I don't believe they should have ever been mandated. That's for a government to coerce people into, hey, you're going to lose your job if you don't get this. That's not right. That's government overreach, and that I stand against that as a person who I believe myself to be like quite left wing. I stand against that. You know, I don't think the government should be doing things like that.
Fair enough. Do you want to give a little spruik about what Extinction Rebellion is? No, that's not the words. Help me out.
Yeah,
Extinction Rebellion?
Extinction Rebellion, yeah.
Thanks.
Just they're a climate climate group.
Okay, good.
Yeah, like
Anti-climate change.
yes.
Brilliant. Okay. Now,
Oh, sorry, pro climate change.
well, change in the other direction. Taking back control
Yes, yeah,
of the changes that
yeah.
may or may not be happening.
Yeah.
Okay, so pulling back a bit of the power that the government has over its citizens.
Mhm.
Fair enough. Something's occurred to me though. You're happy for your digital persona to be quite inflammatory.
Yes, yeah.
Great, and I think your approach is valid, but I wonder if it's going to harm your chances. Are you telling yourself that I'm going to reach for the stars, but in the back of your mind realistically going, I've kind of already dumped my political career because I have there's dirt on me, you know, like it's so easy to dig up.
I have thought of that, yeah. And at the end of the day,
You can't get rid of it.
I'm just a person. You know, I am not perfect. I have my own opinions and my own way of doing things. And, you know, someone comes and says, like, oh, you know, you were doing this once upon a time. Okay, nice.
Yeah, that was then, this
cool.
is now.
Yeah, you know, like we all grow, we all change. And for me, it is silly as it has served a purpose. You know, I do spend the time to follow the information that people give me, you know, to investigate, to challenge my own understanding of the world, because I see the world in this way. And until someone challenges that and says, well, no, you're wrong, I go, oh, okay, well, now I can understand how I'm wrong, and then investigate that.
And then do something about it.
Yeah,
Right, you can't
Like-
do anything about that thing that you don't know
Yeah,
about.
well, that's exactly it, is that, you know, lots of people will attack someone or just, you know, disagree with them when there are just things that I don't know. And how am I meant to know something I don't know until I know it, and until I'm exposed to whatever this particular piece of information is, you know, whatever it be on whatever spectrum, until I know what it is. How can I know? And so many people will swing something at you, and it's like, I've never heard of that before.
And it can be hard to take those blows.
Yeah.
You've got to be quite a resilient character
Yeah.
to be, I mean, because some people can, you know, really try and knock you down, because that
Oh,
that can be the best way. It's
Yeah.
a good defense is a good offense
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever seen those videos, people set up desks going, doodaloo,
Oh, yeah.
challenge my
Yeah,
view, or, what is it? Convince me I'm wrong?
Yeah,
Something
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Have you ever done something like that?
I,
Would you?
Yeah, I would, yes. Yeah.
What would be the subject?
Yeah.
What do you want your opinion changed
Well,
on? What's left to challenge? I mean, you're doing it all the
so
time.
so many things, you know. That's the thing. There's so much out there to challenge. Like, I would like to debate people on climate change, you know, all these gender identity issues and things like that, because I just have a particular view on it, you know. And I'm not to say that my particular view is the correct one. It's just, I see it this way, and there is a level where it's like I understand that I might not necessarily right, but the reason that I think I'm right, or that I have a substantial argument is probably no, right is not the correct answer, but the reason I have a substantial argument in that is because of X, Y, and Z that I could
it's
substantial.
built on the information that I have.
Yes.
I've come to what I know.
Yes. Yeah.
And then I'll go from there.
Yes,
It's a process. It's always an ongoing thing.
That's exactly it.
So I wanted to ask you about just on the subject of gender politics, and you talked about the government mandates. How do you feel about, what's the term, coerced speech? Does that sound familiar?
How would you mean coerced speech?
Well, for example, the Canadian government have introduced laws that dictate how a person must speak.
Is this sort of the C16 bill?
I believe so.
Yeah,
Yes.
so there is things around that where it's like they're not mandating it, they're just changing how it's I'm not 100% all privy on this. I've done like a little bit of reading
It's
about
caused
it.
a bit of a ruckus. I think it's been reviewed a
Yes,
couple of times. They've pulled back.
I think it's been made to look worse than what it actually was.
Could be.
And that's a lot of the problem with these issues is that the statistical percentage of people that are transgender or in that process is so small. To me, this issue is so, why is society talking about this? I will happily campaign for what I think is, my moral understanding of it.
Mm-hmm.
But as a whole, these issues are so conflated. But that's, to me, by design. I got quite upset the other week. Well, not upset, but just like something. These are things that I don't have like a temper, but the things that frustrate me.
Fire you up.
Yeah, I was watching Joe Rogan and Matt Walsh talk, and Matt Walsh says,
"Who's Matt Walsh?" I'm sure most people know who Joe Rogan is.
Yeah, Matt Walsh is the guy that did that "What Is a Woman" documentary. He has like a beard, and he is
check that out.
He's built a lot of his career around identity politics, and he is, that's essentially Matt Walsh's brand, is just the identity politics debate guy.
And his main viewpoint is what?
That transgender, either or, but I say a transgender woman is a man. That's how he views it. Is that it's just black and white.
Sure. And what's your view on that?
On him or on just on the topic in general?
On that topic in general. So if you were to, you listen to that and agree, or listen to that and disagree?
Yes. So I would disagree.
Okay.
Yeah. I see that gender is a social construct. It is sex is not a social construct. That is biological, but gender in itself, the creation of your connection to the masculine or the feminine is a thing within our own mind, and it is individual to each person. And that that's how I see these issues, is that you subscribe to, you can be subscribed to being a man with more feminine qualities or feminine energy, or you can be a female with more, still be a female, but then have more association to masculine energy, which we could say just tomboys and things like that.
Sure. A lumberjack who loves getting her nails done.
Yeah, it's the thing is that when we look at these gender things, but this is the thing is like who's to say that a lumberjack can't have painted nails?
Absolutely.
And that's my argument on that, is that we all have this masculine and feminine inside.
I'll tell you who. The trees.
The trees. Yeah.
It chips off.
Yeah.
Amazingly fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? I've just had a business idea. I'm sorry, I'm doing this on air, but we've talked about going into business together. I'm going to make like a super hard, tough nail polish that doesn't chip off for tradies.
Isn't that what shellac is?
Isn't that what
Is it? Damn it.
Those
Every
UV
time.
ones that you put the
Yeah,
thing
it's a shellac. It's like
on.
it stays on for months.
Just the one
Yeah.
that Danny uses.
This is why I'm not in business.
Yeah,
Every
yeah.
time I think I have a good idea, it's already been done. Anyway.
And no, yeah. So I think we all, when we look at these masculine femininities, I love cuddling with my girlfriend.
Mhm.
We would say that's a pretty feminine thing, or
That's love. That's not feminine. Is it?
yeah, or
I know, but there is that association with love being.
Well, that's it. What
soft
we
thing.
associate as a society to masculine and feminine. When we think of masculine things, we think of brave and strong and assertive, and
Detached.
then when we think of women, we think of soft and nurturing and
Emotional
caring,
and-
emotional. Yeah,
And it gets blurry because some of those those associations are biologically attached. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like there's reasons why those associations have developed
Yes,
over the development of thing. But it's not to say that we can't challenge them now.
Well, that
If not for fun, then the betterment of society. We'll see how that all works. Why do you think there is so much conversation about trans rights at the moment? Why is it blowing up as it has into such a massive subject?
I think there's a level where it's like we've reached that point in society that we're running out of things to really address as big hitting issues, but I think because it's been conflated. And this was the story I was telling about Matt Walsh was that, so he's on Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan asks him about the statistics of how many children in the US are on hormone therapy, puberty blockers. And Matt Walsh says, well, I'm guessing around a few million.
Okay.
And his whole career, his whole shtick, his whole brand is the gender debate guy. He talks on puberty blockers almost on his show, which has millions of followers. Yeah,
But he's guessing?
guessing. Yeah. Well, this is the thing: is then Joe Rogan or Jamie fact checks him, and no, it's about 1,000 a year, not a few million, 1,000. And the difference between 1,000 and a few million is massive.
It
you know,
is. I mean, you talk about if that's the cost of the run of the treatment, it's also massive. It might be a larger number if it were made more affordable. Or easier to access.
These are all the things, but in that debate in society, when people are getting information from figures such as Matt Walsh, the difference between a few thousand and a few million is massive, and to then just I'm guessing when this is your whole thing that you make your career around and you talk on this subject a lot.
Yeah,
But this is also where we find these problems in society. If it were a few million, then maybe we need to discuss this issue, and see what we actually where we sit on this issue.
Mm-hmm.
But when it's a few thousand, this is such in the 1.6 million American children. What are we talking about? 8,000 children in America die to guns every year. 300,000 get married before being still as a minor. Why are we worrying about this 1,000 children on puberty blockers when there are 25% of American children are obese? Why are we worrying about this as our issue? But this is the problem with having these platforms that that these Ben Shapiro's and things have platforms, is that there is the statistical anomaly that there are people out there that are just different, that are radical thinkers. They're just out there in society. But the problem is that, say this radical one individual makes a video,
particularly charismatic.
puts it on TikTok or something, and then Matt Walsh or Ben Shapiro gets hold of it and then put it on their platform, and then and then they do that a few times because these statistical anomalies, which we can say, let's say 5 people put up these radical videos, but now Ben Shapiro, Jordan Peterson is talking about it, so is Matt Walsh. Now it's hitting mainstream, and now we're thinking
then they
this
go on the morning breakfast shows,
and now we're thinking this issue is way more prevalent than it is.
Right, and it's been kind of like there's a reward system, isn't it, for going viral, whether it's right or wrong, or it's just whether it's got attention.
100%.
And you could kind of say the same thing. It's like, watching a child have a tantrum, right? It's like the world is watching an issue have a tantrum, and whether they need to interact with it or not, whether it affects them or whether it really needs addressing as is it more pressing than something else that's going on in the world that we're not being informed of in favor of this particular thing? It is demanding our attention, and so more and more people are crowding, right?
They're crowding, but they're not doing anything about it. Like,
but
this militia do this, but they're not doing it.
Right. So what do you propose we do about it? Because you're a man of action.
Yeah.
And clearly a big picture thinker.
Yeah. So it's a hard issue to tackle. I think the first one is the media. Yeah, media is just, if we just took it out of the media just all of a sudden, as silly as it sounds, we are very controlled by the media. Right now, Kanye West is rolling through, and that's all media is talking about, or you pick an issue that the media wants to propagate, and then we're talking about it. Society is, and this is the thing with the gender debate, is that this is an issue that is being pushed on us, whether we like it or not, is being pushed on us by media as a whole. And to me, if you ask me what my nemesis was, my nemesis
I did want to get an answer to that.
Is this, system of oppression. I'm not going to say it's capitalism, because it's not just capitalism. It's everything. It's that we right now as the people, and that includes right and left, center, you take your pick. We are all sitting in a system that's not quite working for all of us. And that's what, these are the things, like when I, as a person, what I campaign for, or what I am about, is I'm about every person. Some people say, oh, well, this person on the dole, or that, they didn't earn it. I don't really give a toss. To me, there is certain standards that people should live by. We should all have enough money, and there are so many statistics out there that, these issues could be solved if we actually solve them. Poverty, for example, we could just, money, done.
It does sound like there's a lot of people out there who have the ability to, they could spare.
Yeah, this is like, Jeff Bezos takes his 11-minute flight to space for $5.5 billion.
Right. That's a lot of wheat and rice.
Yeah, and all these big corporations, Apple last year made $940 billion. The year before that, they made 870 or something like that. Not exact statistics, but in these ballparks. Well, if you were to take
let's round up or down a billion.
If we were to take 1% or 2% from them, and of course companies get taxed, but this should be into, of course people don't like this concept of global government and things like that. But we as a country, as if we could all take 2% from all the globe's top 15 companies and put it into one big fund, and then just start putting it towards issues. Poverty in Africa, things like this.
If we could organise an institution that was void of corruption.
Yes, and this is the thing. There is
charities can be a bit of a sinkhole.
Our issues are corruption in the world.
Can be.
And the only way that these issues are going to be overcome is just by the right people. Unfortunately, corruption is hard to stop unless you have the right people that want to stop corruption.
Yeah, they're sneaky, those corruptees.
Yeah, well, that's that's the thing, is when you look at like the Liberal government and the things they were doing when they sell a plot of land next to Sydney Airport for $40,000 or something like that, when it was evaluated at 40. But in the same period, the person that owned that land was a political donor. And in that particular period, like a period of time, in that year, that political donor tripled their political donation, and then 3 months later, they get land bought off them for $40,000 when it was evaluated at 4. Yeah. And it's the same as when Angus Taylor had owned a company that owned water, and the company itself was in the Cayman Islands, so we know he's already doing some shifty shit. Sorry, pardon me. And then they buy it off him for $30,000 or something like that, when it's valued at 2.5 or 3,000.
I mean, and some of it seems quite blatant too. And it doesn't take a lot of digging, and yet you'd think, it wouldn't take a lot. Like if you and I could dig that, because it's just below the surface. It wouldn't take a lot for proper journalistic,
Yeah, well,
outlet to inform the people that this sort of stuff is happening, and yet we're distracted, right?
Our mainstream media doesn't talk about this sort of stuff. This is the next problem in Australia and the world in general, but mainly these westernised countries, UK, Australia, and I'll go out and say it, is the Murdoch media. I already am trying to scheme ways up to try and take on Murdoch,
He
whatever
seems like
it
a
be.
worthy nemesis.
Yeah, yeah.
You
I do not like.
He's up there.
I do not like Rupert Murdoch.
You talked about it being a person for every person. You care about every person. How do you reconcile that view with dismissing, say, a small percentage of the population who may not be experiencing the same rights that you want everyone to have?
That's exactly it. That they shouldn't be dismissed. Everyone should have equal rights. Everyone, and that should not. There should be no, there should be no if buts or maybes about it. It's like we all deserve to be treated equally, and we all deserve. That's I as much as I might be left wing, I believe that the right wing should have just the same rights as what I got, and that there should be no differentiation between, and that can be everything. That can be sexuality, race, religion, region, doesn't matter. We should all have the same rights, the same chances to possibility, chances to succeed in life. And this is the problem with, Indigenous communities and things like that. They don't have the opportunities that I have. Let's just be honest.
Okay.
That's how I see it, that they don't have it. And this is through structural, this is through historic wrongdoings and things like that, that there is systematic...
There's been a lot of poor decisions made over the years.
Yes, yeah. There is systematic racism in the world. And these are the things, is that I feel that it's not wrong in saying that, but it doesn't mean that we need to go overboard and go crazy and as some people might put, like, pander to these people. It's not that. It's that let's just acknowledge what the history that there has been. Let's acknowledge that there is these issues, and then let's find a way to fix them. And with all of these, how do you fix these societal issues that you as you asked me, where do you start?
Yeah.
It's coming to the table. That
it's having the discussion,
yeah,
right?
It's coming to then.
What level of discussion is appropriate?
Yeah, well, that's the hard part. I think how
about this? What do you think about the voice? Then now you've brought up Indigenous issues, and I think it's an important thing. Definitely needs addressing, and maybe a bit more attention in the media as well. There is better representation going on. I think the education side of things, the curriculum is slowly catching up. It's taken a lot of work by a lot of people. It seems to be. I work in a primary school. I pick up things. It seems to be getting more ingrained, which is fabulous to see. How do you feel about the voice in Parliament?
Honestly, I don't know enough about to talk on the subject. Like, I understand the rough of it, and I actually listened to Pauline Hanson talk about this, and I understand her argument. I actually have watched a few Pauline Hanson things, and I used to be like, didn't really like Pauline Hanson. I wouldn't say I like her now, but I understand where she's coming from. She has passion.
Those who took the time to listen to her would probably agree that she said some good things. Albeit in an amusingly nasal voice.
Yeah.
But if we can dismiss that and listen to the content of a person's words, you know what? I think there was some good content in there.
Yeah.
And it sparked good debate, whatever the outcome was. So what was she saying recently? Because I've checked out for a bit.
I'm gonna have to think back now. She was just talking about people coming to Australia. That her opinion is that if they come to Australia, they should abide by Australian rules, cultural norms and things like that. And she was mainly talking, about say people who practice Islam and things, and they want to wear burqas in shopping centres, and she said, well, that's not Australian, and I can understand some of her argument in saying that yes, we should, when you come to Australia, you should be Australian. You should try and meld with our culture and things like that. But there is a level where it's like we are a multicultural country, and we should allow people to have the cultures that they want.
Well, we should enjoy that if we can.
Yeah, exactly. I think multiculturalism is a good thing, and this is the thing that really confuses me personally about lots of people are against one world government and they're trying to get rid of borders. And to me, it's like, is that such a bad thing? What we can still be Australian or French or have our borders, but trying to dissolve where we can travel around the world and experience the world, because if just because I am such X race or religion, I'm now locked out of this country, where's the freedom in that? Where's if we're to truly go and explore the world as it is and have,
Well, grow as people. Traveling is one of the best things
yeah,
we can
yeah,
do for ourselves.
That's the thing you meet.
Expose ourselves to entirely different cultures. Just see how different the world really is outside of your, what did you call it before? Info bubble?
Yeah, info bubble, and just the
Culture bubble?
thing. Yeah, your culture bubble, all of it. That we do live in isolated environments for the most. If you're a right wing person only watching right wing media, that's all you're ever gonna know is right. You're never gonna understand the other side unless it's locking heads with people in a debate. But that's not truly understanding where that information comes from.
No, it's much nicer to be told by the magic box that you're right.
Yeah,
isn't it? It's like
yeah,
that agrees with me.
Yeah,
and I feel good about that, and that's nice. It's not nice, like we were saying earlier, to take the blow of, the TV lady thinks I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And I don't like it. And that's, that's not what I want to do with my 10-minute coffee break. That's not what I need. I need something that's going to chill me out and calm me down and maybe give me a little shot of serotonin or whatever.
This is the other thing, specifically about media and why I'm not over fond of Rupert Murdoch media, is the language that gets used. I don't mind the term woke and things like that, but the amount that this now is being swung around with venom behind it, and the way that they talk about people, these woke lefties are trying to destroy every way of your life, and they're trying to, indoctrinate your children, and and it's like, whoa, that is full on language.
I think it's the
from
new
the
hippie,
media.
Isn't it? Something that used to be it signifies a desire for progress and growth and positivity, and it's become disparaging.
Yeah.
And it has been, I think you're right, maybe a manipulation by the media of utilizing those buzzwords.
Yes, yeah. Well, that's the thing, you only ever hear these buzzwords from right-wing media. And, and the problem with it is the slant in the way, when do you ever hear on the ABC or pick your left-wing media when they're using terms like the woke are trying to destroy, these left wokey, and, they use so many other words that I'm, disgusting and deranged, and you pick a nice descriptive word and they will put it in connotation with left, woke, green, whatever, and that's dangerous when that's full. And this is what we saw with January 6th, is using certain language and just on repeat. That's dangerous for society. It's the same as this Matt Walsh thing. Making mistakes like that is dangerous, because then there's someone out there that heard a few million instead of a few thousand.
Tell two friends, and then
exactly, and then it's off it goes.
Yeah.
And now we've got a problem. And then when you start
and all of a sudden it's KFC and headless chickens again.
Yeah, right? That's exactly it.
You remember that rumor?
Yeah. Wait.
No. They had to change their name from Kentucky Fried Chicken because they weren't legally allowed to put the word chicken, call what they served chicken, because it was genetically modified to have extra legs or have no head or something. Anyway, but it caught on like wildfire, and that's the thing. We are susceptible as a society to that buzz. We can be and smart and passionate and lovely and so incredibly dumb at the same time.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I think that's the thing that I find the most interesting about all this is just the way that people interact. I have been called all sorts of names. Admittedly, I've slung mud too. I'm not saying I haven't, but I've.
Who's the biggest person you've slung mud at? What would you say is the biggest target you've hit?
Well,
Have you gone straight to the political sphere?
yeah. I've locked heads with Oh, actually, I got a good one.
Did you get responses back?
Senator Gareth Rennick.
Okay. What's his story?
He is very, if you were to put him on the political spectrum, he's right wing.
Sure.
He's anti-vax, and very drives this narrative of the World Economic Forum and things like that are taking over the world.
Okay.
And again,
niche.
not necessarily. I understand these people's arguments around these kind of topics, that there are things going on that could be seen that way. And I think that's the problem with these issues, is that they can be seen from different ways. When people say, "Oh, well, they're trying to get rid of borders and build this one world government," and you're like, "Yeah, I can see why people are worried about that." But then there's a person like me that goes, "Well, if we had a one world government, that would fix some problems." It just depends on which way you look at it.
Potentially, the thing I see wrong with that is
Corruption.
If it doesn't work, you know what I mean? Like, hey, maybe that's worth a try. But can we make sure that we can pull
out.
Let's pull it back.
Yeah.
And that is the problem, I think. That is the fear surrounding giving governments more power, which happened a lot over the COVID period. Governments
they took a lot. They took a lot.
And some, better than others, promised to give that power back.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how successful that's been.
Yeah, I don't think they would. Yeah,
no,
I don't think. And that's, again, this is the issue with governments, is that our governments are doing some pretty shifty things. All governments are, and there needs to come a point where we acknowledge this: the governments are doing some shifty things, and doesn't necessarily that means we have to go all out and rampage about it. It's just we need to understand that these things are going on, and how do we feel about it? Are we okay to give up X right? When I did my counter-terrorism degree, we wrote an assignment on which is more important, freedom or security, and that's a very personal way of looking at it. Because it is on a slider, if you have more security, then you lose freedom, but if you have more freedom, then you can lose security. And
why did you come down on that fence? Go on, down on a hill.
Yeah, I chose freedoms. I chose freedoms. I think, I'm not really for all this facial recognition and things that they're using.
Ooh, creeps me out a little bit. Our computers are very good now.
Yes,
very good.
It's full on to be able to track. I can understand, again, the security side of it, of why they can do that, because it is handy, being able to track and find and, things like that. But then the problem is that in the hands of a corrupt or bad government, well, now it's being used in the wrong way.
I get these texts, I don't know, from the local police station whenever someone goes missing. Do you get these?
Yeah.
I got them.
I don't remember signing
Monday.
up for that.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah,
That's
exactly it.
And I've never been able to help. I kind of wish I could. It just makes me a little bit anxious. Oh, poor Gwen.
Yeah. It's always some old bloke or something like that.
Usually, yeah. But then you do get the follow-up saying, "Oh, it's all right, we found him." Sometimes it's only 20 minutes later. They're like, "Look out! There's an alert. Everyone be on the lookout for this lost frail person."
Yeah. Have they found
and then they turn up. It's like, "Oh, I was watching something."
Yeah.
But we should care more.
Admittedly, also, like, governments and stuff. I used to work for Centrelink. I've worked for Centrelink
That's
for
a
quite
tough
a few years.
gig.
Yes, yeah. I worked in a few different sectors. I worked in for the families line for a while.
Eye-opening, I bet.
Yes, and again, it really did help me change my understanding of what's happening in Australia.
Maybe what the real issues are.
What the real issues are, and when people talk of dole bludgers and things like that, they're out there, but they make up such small statistics of the people on welfare. And this is what I've never liked about when they say we can't raise welfare, or governments say we can't raise welfare. Most people on welfare are students, parents receiving childcare subsidies, people on disabilities, single parents and things like that.
Yeah, the marginalised.
Why don't we want to give these people more money so they can live more comfortably?
Look, can you answer a question for me? No one's ever been able to tell me why. I don't understand why we seem to punish our students.
Yeah.
Those with educational aspirations can, I think, only benefit society.
It's just it's the society that, especially in Australia, that, and these are issues that as a society we need to be careful of, because right now there's quite a trade-centric
Sure, we need
mentality. We need houses, but mentality in Australia, all the mines. Yeah, people just like, yeah, I'll go in the mines. I have friends who are nurses who left being nurses to go to the mines because the money is just better with less stress.
Of course, I know,
you know,
a lady
teachers
who was a really green-centric mother of the earth. You know, she was just in love with nature, and then just packed up and went to be an engineer in the mines.
Yeah.
And I couldn't understand how she's flipped, but
money.
That's what it is.
And this, you know, the problem with this is that we'll start running out of professional professions.
Well, we also need nurses and doctors.
We need nurses and doctors. Yeah, but we also need teachers. We need social workers. We need fireys. We need all these things. It's like the more we start to go away from when we have this whole no, don't go to uni, just go get a trade and things like that.
That's
and we
what I
have
was told to do.
Yeah, this is the thing is that this is what, and then there's this sort of right wing attack on university that they're just indoctrinating you into becoming woke. I went through an entire conservation degree, and no, they're not indoctrinating. Maybe social work, but that's because social work is very left leaning. Let's say
by its nature.
By its nature, yeah. But that holistic view of just university and things like that.
University
then
equals left.
Yeah, and it just drives into society, and then
and then it's an us and them, and then there is an enemy created.
Exactly. Yeah.
That need not be there.
Yeah, I
think there's a lot of enemies that we don't need to have.
Yeah, most definitely. And that's our problem right now. Is that I love locking heads with people online. That it is a fun pastime to me.
Yeah,
but
to a point, for a purpose.
For a purpose, yeah.
Right.
But I also feel that there are people that would truly see me as if I'm some kind of enemy, that I'm trying to wreck the sort of fabrics of society, when it's not that at all. It's just I see something in a different view.
But come on, you've said already, you do get a little bit of joy
out
of doing that.
100%.
What's your aftercare routine like? Do you like finish a debate and go, okay, by the way, who's trouble? You know what I mean?
Never take any of it.
Peace,
Never take any of it too seriously.
Okay.
It's always, to me, always just fun and games. If that person said, "Hey, come have a beer at the pub," cool, I'll meet you there.
Are you ever the person that says, "Hey, come have a beer at the pub"?
Say again?
Are you ever the person that says, "Hey, come have a beer at the pub"?
Yes, actually, yeah.
Good to hear.
Well, even just being here is that kind of interaction. Being here alone is that we have disagreed on things. Why here I am, and
ooh, I didn't know about this.
Yeah.
There's tension.
Yeah. We've disagreed on different subjects, and it is, there is a view as I am young, I have young outlooks on life. There are certain things that I haven't got to experience, or maybe I don't have such an understanding on, and I can admit that. I can admit that I don't have perfect understandings of the world.
Of course not. No, you're young and ignorant. Ignorance isn't a dirty word.
Yeah, no, I'm young and ignorant, but
that's all it means.
There's also that part of me that's, I do see the world in a very idealistic way, that I do believe, as I said before, I do believe in the utopia being possible. And, part of that is that we need to look at this system of capitalism. We need to look at the systems that are oppressing people around our country, around the world. We need to look at what the issues are and find root causes of these issues. These massive clashes that we're having in society now are very media driven, that we need to see that for what it is and address it for what it is. That, what would happen if we just went, media is just going to stop. We just removed every media all of a sudden like that.
That's a great little thought.
What would happen? Would
all the teenagers of the symptoms of thinking
withdrawal
symptoms.
Not necessarily like media, like phone. I mean like very mainstream.
Oh, not the phones.
No, I mean very mainstream,
the
like
games.
Channel 10, Channel 9, Channel 7, Sky News. But let's just all of it. Whoom. What do we think would happen? Would we all of a sudden find a way to get along together now that we don't have these things just talking at us, telling us what to think? Because let's be honest, that is what's happening.
About those medias, are you also referring to social medias like Instagram, Twitter, TikTok?
Yeah, look,
those are very.
They are. I actually one day, I got big aspirations. I want to try and find a way to build a new social media where you can have a slider where if you want to see right-wing things, you can see right-wing things. If you want to see left-wing things, you can see left-wing things, and have your news feed filled with these things. Yeah.
There was
then
one,
you can have a middle point where it's a mix of both.
There was one that I used for a while that would present the same news story to you, but from different news outlets.
Is there any background ground news?
Yes.
Yes.
And it would label them.
Yeah,
This is from a right wing thing.
Yeah.
I found that
It's
fascinating
good. Yeah.
and good. It shut down, didn't it? Or am I thinking of something
No,
else?
no,
It's still running?
I think it's still running. Yeah.
Really, quite amazing project. Love that idea with the
Yeah,
sliders.
but
But you know what I feel like? Challenging myself.
Yeah,
You know
that's
what I
it.
feel
You need
like?
if you're just locked into one side of info stream, this one just right wing. You're seeing all the Jordan Petersons, Ben Shapiro's,
Good for a
Matt
laugh,
Walsh,
I find.
yeah,
Look,
and things.
the thought provoking. You know,
Yeah,
what I mean? I'm not making fun, but it's
It is
thought provoking.
it is thought provoking. Yeah,
And it reminds me of my values. I'm thinking, hang on, no, I still disagree with that.
yeah,
It's fine.
yeah,
I'm
that's the
fine.
best thing about seeing other things is that you can get. Sometimes I've watched certain things that Ben Shapiro said and be like, yeah, no, I actually agree with him, and
Yeah,
other times
actually
I've been
makes
like,
sense.
nah, I disagree wholeheartedly.
No, but he's a voice, and you're a voice, and I think there's great. I don't know. There's great potential here. In this room. It's
like-
really good. You see a lot of problems, but I think you maybe I don't know.
Well,
You're interested in the solutions as well.
It's also the part that you also are. I believe that you. What I understood is that you are also very much willing to also change your views depending on what somebody tells you.
most definitely, yeah,
It's a skill that we're not
That
taught
is the
and we
good
need.
Yeah.
bit about debating.
yeah,
Being there open-mindedly, listening to their view, being able to change your view according to them as well.
So it can be exhilarating.
yeah.
It's challenging,
Very
and you need to be resilient to do it, which is a skill in itself. What I'd like to know, with all of this stuff running through your mind all the time and feeding yourself, you know what I mean? Like you're exposing yourself to a lot. How do you keep going? What gives you hope, Michael?
Yeah. People give me hope. You look all around the world, there are good things happening, good people doing good things everywhere. From, for example, one that stuck to my mind was a few years ago or a year ago, there was that, I think it was like Uvalde or maybe Pulse nightclub shooting.
Yeah.
And a group of people organised on Facebook to go to the homes of the victims to check if they had pets, just so that, and it's just that there is just a good-hearted thing to do, and they're everywhere. That those sprinters or hurdlers or something that both won gold medals. So they tied, and they either had to redo the race to see who would win the gold medal, and then one of them says, "Could we share? Could we both share the medal?" And then there goes to the officials, comes back, and they could, and they both just like hugging and in tears. And again, it's just one of those moments where it's like, and this is the biggest thing that I believe in, and the thing that drives me as a person is I know for a fact there are good people out there in the world, and there are more good people out there than there are bad people by a massive number. We all want to do good on some level. Sometimes we get a bit twisted, misunderstood, all these things, but at our core, I truly believe that every person wants to be a good person, and I'll never step away. Like, I will never not have convictions. The worst things that happen in the world would never change my opinion on that. There is always good people out there trying to do good things, and that's what I, as a person, again, big aspirations. Eventually, I want to find a way to rally that, Let's find a way to bring people who actually care about what is happening, because I personally don't like what is happening in the world. We are just falling to pieces left, right, and centre, and it is going to take bold people with bold ideas, with big dreams, who just go, I'm just going for it. And that's what we need. And I think there are people everywhere, even just this, this is a beautiful idea, a beautiful thing happening for a good reason. And this is what gives you hope. When you look at what in the world, there are just good things happening everywhere.
Michael, thank you for joining us this evening. I hope that we do spread a little bit of hope and joy out there in the world, and I'm sure that when you put your voice out there good and proper with this message, that you will find that group that you're hoping to rally.
Most definitely.
Thank you for joining us here on Tea Time.
Thank you.
Wish you all the best of luck.
Yeah, cheers, mate.
Okay, we are going to go to a song now. We've had a request from Michael. He mentioned his love of hip hop. So we're doing some good Aussie hip hop. Go for Jimmy Ricard by Draft, and we will see you back here in just a moment here on Tea Time.